Welcome to the Green Urbanist Podcast, the podcast for urbanists fighting climate change. I'm Ross.
I think we can get to that. We can talk a little bit about street life in Cambodia because it's mind-boggling. So my projects are around ASEAN, but I'm based in Phnom Penh. It's awesome. It's a fun place to live. I do like it. It has an old French colonial city center, and the whole city sort of radiates out from this old market. And now there's not so many left, but there's nice old French colonial buildings dotted around. Unfortunately, many have been destroyed. I'm not pro-colonialism, but I do like the architectural style that these buildings were in, at least compared to some of the placeless glass towers that has replaced them. And because of this French legacy, the street layout, it predates the car. So it's created this really pleasant inner city center, at least it could be. The city has remained quite compact, which is good. Unfortunately, now it's really overrun with motorbikes and increasingly cars. I think the car growth rate is 11% per year. So complete gridlock is imminent. Give the city 5 years and the city won't be moving anymore.
Yikes.
With all that, there's no big overpasses and underpasses. It's a much more uniform grid, or ununiform grid, not quite like Manhattan, but nice big boulevards with blocks in between. And so with that, I can really cycle everywhere. I can't walk anywhere, but I can cycle everywhere. So besides all the pollution, air and noise pollution, it's a fun, enjoyable city to get around, which wouldn't be possible in Ho Chi Minh City, for example. You couldn't cycle. The city's too big. It's dissected with these big bridges and overpasses, underpasses, where it's engineered for higher speeds that you don't reach on a bike, whereas Phnom Penh is still very manageable by bike. I am probably slower than a motorbike, but I'm faster than a tuk-tuk, which is good. And I think we mentioned this several times, but it's also a very motorbike dependent city. And if you come here, and I hope you can, you're going to be just blown away by the sheer number of motorbikes on the road that, as I said, they flow like shoals of fish. I don't know what the percentage is, but 75% of the vehicles that are registered are motorbikes. And they very much form the backbone of the economy and play a very important role in moving people and goods. And they cradle a very heavy responsibility. The city really depends on them. If you snapped your fingers and removed them, business would grind to a halt almost instantly. Because if you go about your day in Phnom Penh, you come across all kinds of businesses that operate off the back of motorbikes, or often adapted motorbikes. Like you have barbecue, wouldn't call them restaurants, street food on wheels. The guy that will like cut your keys, he's got a motorbike and he's adapted it so he has a third wheel with a component where he has his little shop window, but on his motorbike, shoe fixers, banana sellers, where it's so hard to explain, but they build, I don't know, like a platform off the back of their motorbike where they hang up the bananas. And it's not like bananas in plastic packaging. They come from the countryside with fresh bananas still off the branch, and they balance them on both sides of the motorbike, sell them in the morning, and then drive back. And they also have remorques.
Incredible.
So that's the French word for trailers, une remorque, which they've used in the Khmer language. And it's basically a trailer for a motorbike, which you don't see much of in Europe. But these trailers themselves also come in all shapes and sizes, and they carry all sorts.
No, I don't think I've ever seen one.
In between the street blocks, there's a lot of, I wouldn't call them informal settlements, but definitely not planned settlements with very fine grain housing. So very narrow streets, and you have these motorbikes with these trailers carrying entire beds. I've seen motorbikes, entire trees, or a trailer that's got planks of wood set up. So it makes like a minibus with space for up to 12 people, just pulled by a motorbike.
Oh my God.
There's so much innovation happening off the back of these motorbikes. What else? I've seen motorbikes carrying motorbikes. The list is endless. I can only send pictures because it's hard to believe.
I'll try and share some of that on my Instagram because it's marvelous.
It's incredible. Building on this notion of very dense, compact, semi-informal settlements. In Europe, you have many cities trying to create the 15-minute city, which is a great concept. I really like it. And it's basically this idea that a person can reach all or most essential amenities within 15 minutes of walking or cycling, I guess. I'm not sure. But here in Phnom Penh, things will come to you that you didn't know you wanted on the back of a motorbike. Like, not in this apartment, in our old apartment, the ice cream seller, he would come ring his bell and we would hear him from upstairs and we'd go outside and get our little ice cream. But if the things aren't coming to you, you can walk or cycle. So walking is not convenient, but it's obviously possible. You just have to be on the side of the road or climbing over all sorts of obstacles. But I'd say here within not 15 minutes, but 1.5 minutes, you can find almost everything. But my old apartment was sort of a tower in the middle of an informal settlement. And within 1.5 minutes, I could get coffee, I could transfer money, I could get a haircut, I could buy a wedding dress, I could do all my grocery shopping, which is quite fascinating. But as an urbanist, I think that's great, but that's all unfortunately changing fast because like with anywhere in the world, if anyone has a bit of money come their way, they aspire to the car, and here they aspire to big SUVs. So there's a big uptake of SUVs. You also see many Priuses. That's good. It's a hybrid electric car. It's not ideal in spatial terms, but in terms of efficiency, as far as vehicles go, it's quite good. But you see them, they retrofit their Priuses to have 4 fake exhaust pipes at the back, which I find quite funny and quite ironic. So a lot of funny little things like that. But these guys are buying big SUVs, and if they have enough money, they move out to the suburbs away from this French colonial legacy, and they're building these huge gated communities with cookie cutter houses that look like Beverly Hills. I've never been to Beverly Hills, but I imagine it's like that. Just these absolute mansions, which is a shame. And it seems that that's the direction they're moving in. Our little project would like to not reverse this trend necessarily, but at least open their eyes to the mess they could create for themselves in the future if all these suburbs, car-based suburbs, develop. And that's how modern life looks. And everyone's driving a big SUV into the city center, then it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. The transport system just comes to a stop.
Yeah.
It's I can sort of empathize with those sort of ambitions when we were just talking about how chaotic and polluted and busy and overstimulating the city center is. So obviously people feel the need to move out to the suburbs where it's very quiet and you have your own space and you can just, have that sort of personal space and freedom. So it's like, can we find a happy medium somewhere where we're not dooming people to very carbon intensive lifestyles and car ownership, but also give them, I suppose, a better quality of life.
Thanks for listening in. This was an extract from my most recent podcast appearance on the Green Urbanist Podcast, where Ross and I had a fun-flowing conversation about my life and work as an urban planner in Southeast Asia. You can go and watch the full-length podcast on my YouTube channel, or you can listen in by searching the Green Urbanist Podcast on all major podcasting platforms.